welcome into the weekend Sports Kickoff. I'm Devin Albertson today. I am joined by Sean Nino, KNWT's Shane Webb, and Northwest Missourian sports reporter Tucker Franklin. And we're going to start today's show with some Bearcat basketball. And first of all, I want to thank Tucker and Shane for coming on today's show. How you guys doing today?
What's up, fellas?
Doing pretty good for myself.
All right, we're going to start with the women's team as they had a couple games this past weekend on Friday and Saturday down in St. Joe. They lost on Friday to Rockhurst 62-47. Then on Saturday, a little bit of offensive outburst. Both teams, they lost to St. Mary's of Kansas 81-74. And in front of this girls' team, just can't find any consistency with a young roster this year.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much as you said, for the game on Friday, if this team can't shoot threes and they can't get it going, and I mean, there was a time in the first quarter where they were up like 6-0, and then they just couldn't score after that. As I go, I think they were shooting 21% after the first quarter, and you can't win games like that. It doesn't matter who you're going to play. But, one thing that hurt them Friday was Tanya Meyer got into early foul trouble. I think even in the third quarter, she got her third foul, and she'd only played 8 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, at that point. And you're not going to be able to be consistent when one of your best players is not out on the field.
Yeah, you said, Tanya, there she only played 13 minutes there on Friday, had 4 points, 8 rebounds, so she really struggled. McConkey, she also had 4 points and 26 minutes of action. And then Haggard, she was the leading scorer on Friday. She had 13 points, but other than that, no one else over 5 points. So it was really difficult for the team to get anything going consistently when Haggard's the only one that was shooting halfway decent. As you said, they really struggled from the field, 25% from the field, then 5 of 25, which is 20% from the three-point line. And they missed 10 free throws. It's really hard to play against a solid Rockhurst team when you keep missing free throws.
Yeah, another thing on the offensive front, they committed 12 turnovers. I mean, it's hard to get anything going, like you were saying, if you turn the ball over 12 times. So that's another it's a hard thing to rebound from.
And you said the 12 turnovers on Friday. On Saturday when they played St. Mary's, they had 17 turnovers in that game. Meyer played a lot better on Saturday. She had 29 points and 11 rebounds on Saturday, so she played a lot better. Haggard, she had 19 points. They got 8 more from McConkey and 6 from McAndrews, so they played a lot better offensively on Saturday, but just defensively against a St. Mary's team who's now 4-4, they just couldn't stop anybody. They had 4 girls in double figures for St. Mary's, including 2 girls who scored 19. They just couldn't stop St. Mary's on offense. I'm not sure if it's just being young and not being able to physically match up when it comes to defensive end effort or what it is, just mental lapse. I'm not sure what it is with this team right now. I think she'll get it figured out. It's just right now it's really a lot of growing pains with this team so far. So anybody else have anything to add on the girls basketball team?
One thing I noticed that the ladies did do well on their game against St. Mary's is scoring off of turnovers. The Spires had 15 turnovers, and Bearcats kind of capitalized on that. They scored 21 points off of those turnovers. So, I mean, that's at least an essential thing that they need to be getting done. So I'm at least congratulate them on that. So that's a good step forward for some progress. Also, Tanya Meyer had, like you mentioned earlier, with her scoring 29 points. That was her season high so far this year. So
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that goes. And also, we saw there in the lineup this past weekend that Aubrey Benson was not on the team. She's left the team this year. Not really sure the whole reason why, but it's been a mutual kind of splitting. I know there was during the offseason there was a lot of back and forth whether she would come back or not. She decided to come back, and now just a few games into the season right now, she decided to leave the team. Just 6 games into the season, so I'm not sure all the details there, but that's another player right there who can create her own shot in Division II. She's very athletic. She's able to get to the paint anytime she wanted to. But she lost a little bit of playing time early on to some younger players. So I'm not sure if that was the main reason or if she just missed being back in Omaha. I'm not sure the whole reason with that. Maybe it's all just encompassing with all the issues with her, but she's no longer with the team, so it's going to be Tanya Meyer with McAndrews and Williams and a bunch of freshmen. So it's going to be some growing pains, a lot for this team. We only have 1 senior, a couple juniors sprinkled in there, and a bunch of freshmen.
It'll be good to see, especially heading into MIAA play coming up, man. And they played a tough Rockhurst team, and that'll help them get into this MIAA team on Thursday when they play Northeastern.
Yeah, you look at that game versus Northeastern. Northeastern was the one team who was picked below them in the conference coming into the season, so it's a big game. It's 5:30 this week at home at Bearcat Arena. We'll have that game for X106. 5:30 for the women, then 7:30 for the men when they start conference play as well. So we're going to transition to the men now. Of course, they had a game Saturday versus Missouri Valley in NAIA school and just took it to them, beat them 83-48. So, and of course, Justin Pitts, he had 21 points for the Bearcats, 4 assists. He just we say it every time, but he's just an animal on the court. I mean, they list him at 5'10". He's probably more like 5'8", but he's just so good on the court. Pretty much getting any shot he wants to.
He just pretty much took over that game. It was incredible.
It just happens in a flash with him.
Yeah.
He went 5 of 8 from the 3-point line. Didn't go to the free throw line at all, where he's actually 93% on the year. But he's just been a guy just all 4 years now, just been consistent for the Bearcats, able to get to the paint even with his small stature and hit those little floaters over defenders. And then, of course, with this, he had 10 points for the Bearcats, their second leading scorer, 9 more from Welty, 8 from Doherty. Endow only had 7 and 5, but he's been a nice addition this year with him stepping up more in the offensive end. Last year, he was a really big defensive force for the Bearcats. This year, taking more of that second scoring role more consistently for the Bearcats with Schneider and all those other guys graduating.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see who does step up for this Bearcat team. I mean, last year, losing Zach, I mean, he's still here, but he's not on the team. Losing Devontae Mosby, who was also here not playing basketball, but he was still here. But having someone step up to fill what they kind of gave to the team, and, you've seen some of that come in with some players, but, I mean, it's, this team's also played very, very well just to start the year. And, I mean, we're, 5 games in?
6 games, 6-0 right now.
6 games. I mean, this team looks not quite better than they did last year, but I mean, they look up to par with what they were doing last year.
Yeah, if you look at right now, Endow, he's shooting 64% from the three-point line. He's shooting 62% from the field. So right now his outside shot is definitely falling a lot more than it has in the past couple of years. Last year he shot 32%, the year before 34% from the three-point line. So you expect that number to come down a little bit as the year goes on, but he's still much improved shot. Probably got to work with Zach Snyder a little bit more in the offseason with him being a graduate assistant now on that three-point shot. But Endow, that three-point shot's been nice to see it come along even more here. And, of course, Ryan Hawkins, he's come along really strong. The 6'7" guy, redshirt freshman from up in Iowa. He's been really impressive this year with his length on the court and being able to knock down Open J when he has the opportunity as well.
Yeah, another thing just shows the depth of this Bearcat team is everybody that got in the game scored points. So I mean, I know it's against an NAIA team. They took it as an exhibition game. It's still impressive to see everybody who gets on the floor for your team score points.
Yeah, definitely. And as we said a minute ago, with the Bearcat team going to start MIAA play this Thursday versus Northeastern State, who not a great squad, but I remember last year I called the game for X106, and they gave Northwest a little bit of a challenge here and back and forth. They were not going to win a whole lot of games, but they're a team that just kind of sticks around and just hard to get rid of. So that'll be a fun game. Then Saturday versus Central Oklahoma is always a decent team in the MIAA. So a couple of decent matchups here towards the end of November, start of December for this Bearcat basketball team. Coming after Thanksgiving break here on X106, and we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Chiefs game happened this past weekend on Sunday, and we have a lot to say about that. So we're going to take a quick break and be back with more here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. And welcome back into the Weekend Sports Kickoff. I'm Devin Albertson, today joined by Sean Eno again, also Northwest Missourian sports reporter Tucker Franklin. This segment we had Northwest Missouri State former offensive lineman Max Moore. How's it going, Max? Also Bearcat Update host. How you doing, Max? I'll turn your mic on now.
There we go. Yeah, we're doing good. We're just getting ready to start filming Bearcat Update or get finished with it. Just waiting on little Joe Andrews over there. But, let's stop in and talk a little Chiefs football.
Yeah, the Chiefs lost to the Bills today, 16-10. Tough matchup there for Kansas City as they lost at home. Just did not play well at all. I'm just going to let someone else take this for a minute because the Chiefs had 236 yards of offense compared to 268 for the Bills, and just offensively looked anemic for the first half at least.
Yeah, they really did. It's something that I was getting really excited to watch them and see how they'd react after a miserable game against the New York Football Giants. But it just really struck me as it's kind of the opposite of what we saw in the first half of the season, where the defense really kind of played pretty well today.
Yeah. And
they had some good moments, and Reggie Ragland came out and played like a stud against his former team, and that's a good sign for the Chiefs. But the bad signs were the offense, and it just, I don't know what it was. From what I saw, it seemed like they're trying to get Kareem Hunt going, but they couldn't quite do so. And it just didn't seem like they were in sync. And that was one thing where there was miscommunication on routes between Tyreek Hill and Alex Smith. There was it just seemed like
two guys running a screen pass for each other for some reason.
Right, and it just seems like A, after a bye week, B, after a game where you got embarrassed by New York, regardless if they won or not, by a big margin. You still got embarrassed by losing to one of the worst teams in the NFL. So it just seemed like they're out of sync, and it's something that you can't really have at this time of year, especially when you're leading the division by at least, 3 games at one point? Now it's down to 1.
Yeah.
And San Diego there's 2 teams trending in each direction. The Chiefs are not trending in the right direction, but the Chargers are trending in the very right direction. So it's interesting to see. I'm not sure what we're going to expect from the Chiefs. I know there's one thing that Chiefs fans want, but you won't get it because it's not time for it yet. But we'll have Sean and Tucker speak about it.
I just had a Kareem Hunt there real quick. 11 carries, 17 yards. Did not have a very productive game. I don't put all that on him either. The line was not opening up holes. He was getting hit in the backfield every other time he got the ball. So I know he had 1 run for 9 yards. Other than that, 8 yards on 10 carries is just not enough production there from the offensive line and Kareem Hunt together in that tandem. And Alex Smith, he looked out of sync most of the day. I'm up for arms. I don't know what's wrong. It's the play calling, the offensive line play, the receiver's not getting fully open, Smith not finding a receiver. Just so many things wrong with this offense right now, which a month ago looked like the best in the NFL. Now can't move the ball at all.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, this was after I left your place earlier today, I got to thinking, one thing that the Chiefs team as a whole hasn't done a lot of these past few games is take away the ball. This is a team that they don't quite have to do it to win games, but if they don't, and then the defense has to actually stop somebody, and the offense has to drive down the field, well, it just hasn't seemed to work. And I mean, there was the one play that Marcus Peters almost picked off the ball, but he basically just didn't get there in time, which is not like him to say, because I mean,
the lack of aggression was weird,
which is not something that he does any time, but it's just. If the defense could have gotten 1 or 2 takeaways, and it could have been a bit of a different game. I mean, the offense still really didn't do anything. I mean, I joked with you, Devin, that during the third quarter, I was like, they're going to go down, they're going to score on this first, the opening possession of the second half, and then they're going to do nothing. And I didn't actually know that actually happened until after the game, and I was thinking, and I was like, oh, they actually didn't do. Oh.
They did nothing after that. Yeah,
and it's.
Yeah, because the gadget play in the red zone was a screen to Albert Wilson. He somehow scores on it. It's like, okay, great, back on track. And then, well, good, because it's the offense you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of screens.
It's just what I love seeing. It's, I don't know. I was watching the Denver-Oakland game, and there was just 3 screen passes in a row. And I was like, I don't know if it's just me when I'm here watching a game, but I tend to just have screen passes come my way. And I am not an NFL receiver, so I don't need those thrown at me at any time.
He mentioned the takeaway aspect, but I think that's why they went out and got Darrelle Revis. I know Darrelle Revis is kind of an older, washed-up guy, but he's a guy who can pick the ball off. And they really needed another defensive back as soon as Barry went down, but they just didn't go get one. And I think Darrelle Revis can kind of fill that gap there. I don't think he's Barry caliber, but he'll do.
What's interesting is Alan Bailey came back today, and we have Reggie Ragland hasn't played for the Chiefs.
He's played here and there, but he played a lot today because the Bills like to run the ball a lot, so he was in there a lot in the packages there to stop Shady McCoy there, and he did a really good job there. He played really well.
Right, because I was going to say the Chiefs' run defense was fantastic today.
Yes, it was.
And and I talked about how things are kind of different, that Chiefs' offense is now becoming the anemic side of the ball, where the defense was the weak point. Now it's switching, where I guess it's a good thing, but you're getting to a point, hopefully, where you can stop the run, and then you can go, hopefully, make the playoffs still. The way things are going, you never know.
Great,
but I think they'll get it turned around. But it's nice to see at least the defense is picking things up, because if Reggie Ragland can keep playing the way he has been playing, and you have Alan Bailey still stuffing the run with Benny Logan, they have a good front 7. And if D Ford gets back, and even Tom Bahali had some good snaps, and even Frank Zombo had a great day too.
Nunez Roches.
Exactly. They have a good front 7, and then if Darrelle Revis can provide something, then they have a good defensive squad. It's then at that point, okay, how are we going to get our offense going? What can we do differently this kind of go around? And you're never going to have the Patriots 17-0, 18-0, 18-1 season.
18-1 season, yeah.
That was an anomaly. That doesn't happen all that much. Having these teams with going up and down and back and forth between their season. Shoot, we've seen Pittsburgh go out and lose weird games, but then they come back and win these big games. Against the Chiefs, they just dominated that game.
They'll struggle versus the Colts and the Bears, and they'll come out and they'll beat the Chiefs when they're rolling. Other teams that are good makes no sense at all. They'll roll the Titans on Thursday Night Football, then struggle the Colts the next week. It makes no sense. But it's NFL. It's just weird things. Matchups are weird.
Right, and it's just a funny game. Football's a funny game, and the NFL is certainly weird because they're all professional athletes. They're all grown men. They're not going to lose. They're not going to go out there and roll over like South Alabama or University of Alabama at Birmingham. They're not going to go out and get crushed. It's just they're grown men. They're not. There's too much pride at stake for that. So
I agree with you, but now Chapel's coming for you.
Yeah.
Oh no! Did I mention the Blazers?
Yes, you did.
Oh no! Oh boy!
And you butchered their name, but it's all right.
Alabama Birmingham. Isn't that what it is?
It's Alabama.
You said it right.
Birmingham is what it is.
At Birmingham.
You said it right. I was hoping.
Alabama at Birmingham.
You're good. But
Whatever.
it's
It's a great story. Good for them. But no, to your point, I'd go to the good game. But anyway, that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is, now we're at a position to where, okay, what's going to spark the Chiefs' offense? Quarterback change.
That's the biggest thing in Kansas City right now.
You
That's
know-
the biggest thing.
No.
I mean, he's not going to play running back, wide receiver, O-line. Like,
Left
as much
tackle.
as I do want to see him play and try something new, I don't think if the Chiefs want to try and make a run, they're not going to put him in. But I do think, say they lose this game, and okay, let's just say they lose 3 more, or
Well, if they lose 3 more, they're out of the playoffs.
then at that point, put him in because you have absolutely
Right.
nothing to lose. Like if you lose, I'd say 2 more games, just like bad, you're like the offense isn't doing anything, and then you can't. I mean, you can still get in the wild card, but
Because the AFC wildcard picture is awful.
it's really bad.
But, I mean, to the point of even people thought about for Northwest, bring in Jaden Kowalski. That dude hasn't started a game all year, and you say, put him in against Ashland. He's going to be the real deal. Or put him against Missouri Western. No, this guy hasn't played a snap in regular season football. How can you expect him to go out and just be like, all right, there you go.
He could. I mean, you can't say he can because he hasn't done it.
What I thought was funny is coming into this week, people were wanting Mahomes and stuff like that. Now, even more now, but they'll still rail on Buffalo putting unknown Peterman in the game in for Tyrod Taylor when Tyrod's playing okay.
Right.
And then Peterman goes out and is an abject failure. And everybody's like, why would you put the unproven guy in? Also, put Mahomes in. It's like you're talking out of both ends right now. It's just ridiculous. Like, be patient. You have to calm down after a game, after you see it, and just take it in and be okay. Now, what all was wrong? It's not all on Alex Smith. I understand Alex Smith. He missed a couple passes. He missed Kelsey there late in the game. It should have been a first down if he would have thrown to Kelsey instead of Tyreek Hill. But you know what? He was also under pressure the entire game because the line did not play great. I mean, their play calling was also really suspect. I don't understand. Like, there's other things you can see there in the game. It's not all on Alex Smith, but some of it is his fault. But I think he's enough of a pro. He'll get it figured out a little bit here, and Andy Reid will finally, hopefully, tinker a few things to get it to this offense back to where it needs to go.
Yeah, and losing magnifies everything, especially from a quarterback standpoint. You see Alex Smith. He's thrown picks, and he's not looking as sharp as he was at the beginning of the season. And I myself, I am a self-proclaimed Mahomie. So I'm big,
I love Mahomes too.
I'm big on the Mahomes bandwagon. I just don't think he's ready yet. I really think he needs to sit out a whole season before and learn from Andy Reid, learn from Alex Smith. These 2 great quarterback coaches, really. And before he gets into the game.
And what was the plan to start the year? It was to sit in for this year and then reevaluate. Don't rush the judgments because of one bad game versus Buffalo or a couple bad games here that's happened. I mean, if you look at this recent downturn, did Smith play bad versus Oakland when they lost that game? No. But they lost the game, but it wasn't his fault at all. It was the defense's fault. The Giants game was bad. The Buffalo game was bad. But all these losses have been on Alex Smith. So I want to make sure people realize that he's been really good for this franchise. I think people forget really easily about the Tyler Palco days and the Matt Castle days and how bad those days were. That kind of gets wiped from the memory I want it to, but you still have to remember hey, this has been much worse than this when you just calm it down a little bit and not go full Philadelphia on the coaching staff.
That's true. But Castle wasn't as bad as Palco and Thigpen because those days were garbage. Okay, like
last year of Castle. How
Okay,
about that?
yes, Castle's bad, but he wasn't that bad. Those were really, really bad years. But yeah,
The Tyler Thigpen.
but
Ricky Stanzi.
this offense
Birdie
does.
Croyle.
They do have to get better, but it's not to go back to what they were because that's a team that I don't think anybody was expecting to see. You're going to go lead the NFL in scoring. Okay, this is not the right Chiefs team, but I also don't expect them to not be able to score because I mean even going back to past seasons, they're just going to find ways to win games. But at this point, it's like you just got to do something.
More than 17, 9, and 10 in the last 3 weeks. Be average, score over 20 points, give that defense a chance in the game.
Another thing that's hard on the Chiefs is they haven't been able to get their run game going.
Yeah.
And, run really opens up the pass. So if you can't run the ball, like you said, Kareem Hunt didn't have very many yards. I think the leading rusher actually today against Buffalo for the Chiefs side was Alex Smith.
Flying through the air, Alex Smith.
Yes, 35 yards I think is what he had on 5 carries. And you have to be able to run the ball if you want to be successful on offense.
19 total carries for 55 yards. Not great.
That's not good.
No, not at all. Of course, Alex Smith, he was 23 for 36 for 199 yards, a touchdown and an interception. He was sacked twice. His QBR was 31.4. So I'm not saying Alex Smith was good. He was bad. There's no way to put it. He missed some passes here. He did not play well the defense. I was really impressed with them today. They actually changed a few things with their scheme. They brought more pressure, which was nice to see, actually getting after a quarterback and making him make a few mistakes. So that was nice to see. Of course, the Chiefs, they had the Jets coming up next, who are actually playing pretty well. It'd be at noon there out in New York. It's going to be McCown versus Smith in this one. And Jets come in 4-7, but they've actually been playing some pretty decent football. They probably actually should have beat the Panthers this past week. Just couldn't quite get it done. So we got to see how the Jets.
I want people to follow Jeff Schwartz on Twitter. I think
he is great.
He is a great
Voice
follow
of reason
on. He is a great follow on Twitter because he has
his brother Mitchell is the right tackle for the Chiefs.
Right. That should be said. And he's a pro's pro. He knows what he's talking about. He's a football. He's a football guy. He just knows what he's talking about. And when you have all these clowns, these talking heads that say they're football guys, but at the end they're just trying to make money and make hot takes. He knows what the heck he's talking about, and then you have all these people on Twitter going, "Oh, it's pretty easy for you to say that." Blah blah blah. It's pretty easy. You've been saying the same thing for the past 3 weeks. It's like, no, dude. It's because he knows what he's talking about. I mean,
he knows Andy Reid. He knows his coaching staff.
Right, and it's like he knows what the heck he's talking about, and so people try and tell him, "Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing." When you play in the NFL, granted, when you play in the league no matter if you're in the league for at least a year and a half.
He was there for 8.
Yeah, for one. If you're in the league for a year, you kind of get what the heck it takes to get to the league and how things work. If you're there for 8 years and you played on the I'm pretty sure he played on the Giants for a good portion of his career.
Giants, Chiefs.
And then he played for the Chiefs on the tail end. He knows what the NFL is.
Yes.
He knows the ins and outs of the NFL. He knows the people in the locker room. I think I would take his opinion over others. Like when there are people, running around town, and it's people outside of the media department were saying like, "Oh, the Bearcats, they need to do this, they need to do that," and I was like, I think I kind of know what they're doing, and I kind of know what's going on in
relationship
there.
with the coaching staff and how they do stuff.
Right, like I understand what's going on here, and then I'll be like, okay, hey, how about this? Watch for this week. If they do this, then they'll be winning. They do that this week, and then they win, and they're like, "Wow, you were right." It's like, "Oh, you think?" Like not to boost my own ego here, but it's like
you know a thing or two about this program,
right? When you're involved with it, you understand the ins and outs a little bit better. And it's not to say that people that aren't involved with it, like reporters that aren't involved with it, don't know anything about it. But there's that added layer to it, and that's something that's big for, especially when there's talking about quarterback changes and
a lot
all
of that is the teams, they kind of want a barrier between them and the media. So when you have that guy who goes from team to media, they can kind of make that barrier a little more permeable, and they can kind of get back and forth. They have a little more of an access to it.
You really have to sift through the proverbial pile of garbage. And so when you look on Twitter and you look everywhere, you just have to take the facts.
That was the weekend sports kickoff this week. Devin, Sean, Max, and Tucker. Shane was on earlier in the show for Bearcat Sports. We just talked about the Chiefs game loss versus the Bills. This was the weekend sports kickoff.